Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Jersey Shore podcast. That's SURE because we are always sure. Um, Tonight, we have a very good guest for you. I'll get to that soon, but this is brought to you live by the America's Pulse Network. So, before we get into my monologue and the special guest that we have, I want to get into the breaking news. So, before I start talking about it, I want to roll these clips. Let's roll the first one.
The implications of this are frankly nothing short of historic. Over 100 documents that we released on Friday really detail and provide evidence of how this treasonous conspiracy was directed by President Obama just weeks before he was due to leave office, after President Trump had already gotten elected. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. What we saw occur here, as the documents we released detailed, was that we had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election, that the American people had chosen Donald J. Trump to be the next president, commander-in-chief of the United States. And so they decided that they would do everything possible to try to undermine his ability to do what voters tasked President Trump to do.
Okay, and with that right there, there's another clip I want to roll into. So before I get to talking, I wanted to show these clips to you guys. So this is Barack Obama 2016.
Did Clinton lose because of the hacking?
I'm going to let all the political pundits in this town have a long discussion about what happened in the election. Now, it was a fascinating election, so I'm sure there are going to be a lot of books written about it. We will provide evidence that we can safely provide that does not compromise sources and methods. But I'll be honest with you, when you're talking about cybersecurity, a lot of it is classified and we're not going to provide it because the way we catch folks is by knowing certain things about them that they may not want us to know.
See, right there, okay? Now, this monologue that I'm about to get into, I'm going to base it off of my monologue from Thursday because everything that I said kind of came to fruition. Now, I didn't know that these emails were going to be declassified, but they were. And it proves what I said in the monologue last week. And we're going to prove it a little more tonight as we have our special guest on. But so the monologue I talked about last week, I just said, I called it the soullessness of the Democratic Party. So I started off by saying, as I sit here today, I'm not a partisan warrior, but as an American, heartbroken by what we see happening to this country. The Democratic Party is not the party of your parents or grandparents. It's no longer the party of the working class. It's become a machine, a cold, soulless machine, driven not by ideas, not by values, but by raw power and division. What policies do they offer? What vision do they have for your children, for your future, for this great republic? None. And that's my point. That's why I started that monologue with that. They have none. I mean, they survive on schemes, not solutions. They don't lead, they manipulate. They divide and conquer. That's the strategy. Pit race against race, class against class, citizen against citizen. Why? Because they know that a fractured nation is easier to control. And it just shows you right there what Barack Obama tried to undermine President Trump coming in. He did all this before, it was after Trump was elected and before he took office. Barack Obama did this. And I actually forgot to bring up one thing. I'll after this monologue, I'll put it up there. It's just, you can look at the emails, but anyway. But they throw money around like it's monopoly cash, trillions here, trillions there, blowing out spending with no accountability, pushing socialist and even outright communist policies that have failed everywhere they've ever been tried. But they don't care because it doesn't affect them. No, these elites, these beltway aristocrats will still live behind their gated communities, protected by armed security, untouched by the chaos they create. Because socialism doesn't hurt the ruling class. It empowers it. It destroys the middle class. wipes out freedom and leaves you dependent. And that's exactly the point. They want dependency, not liberty. They want obedience, not opportunity. And to maintain power, they will do anything. And this is where this comes in. I didn't know that they were going to release these emails when I said this. They will do anything. Lie, that's child's play. Cheat, standard operating procedure. Smear their opponents every election. They will jail their political rivals, bankrupt them, destroy their families, and never blink an eye. Why? Because in their minds, the ends justify the means. Power at any cost. And I wanted to say they disgraced the highest office, by hiding Joe Biden, that he wasn't fit to lead. And I said it was national endangerment. That's treasonous negligence. And they knew it. They knew it and hid it from the American people. And why? To hold them to power for a little longer. And in doing so, they've risked everything, your economic security, your national safety, your freedoms, your children's future, just to protect their grip on a corrupt system. That's not leadership. That's tyranny with a smile. That is the soul of the modern Democratic Party, if you can even call it a soul anymore. And I went on to say, but I believe in the American people. I believe in truth. And I believe there are millions of us that still remember what it means to love this country, to defend liberty, and still stand against evil, no matter how polished it's disguised. So we will not be silent, we will not be broken, and we will not surrender this nation to those who would see it fall, just so they can stay in power a little longer. So that was my monologue from last week. And I want to go into that again because of that reason. I didn't know these emails were going to be declassified. And it just shows you right there, everything they'll do anything to stay in power, do anything to undermine the next administration coming in. And that's exactly what they did. So if we can just put this up from the dni.org real quick before I introduce our guest. I want everyone to see these are the emails, and you can go, that's what you'll see, go on to dni.org, and you'll see the emails that were released, so you can look it up for yourself. You don't have to believe me, it's there. So we'll see what comes out about this. I just hope that the Trump administration doesn't screw it up and kind of like they did the Epstein files, because you don't want to leave people hang, give them this carrot in front of their face and wow, look at this, because it seems real. And there's some substance to it, but I just hope they present more information and handle this the correct way, and we get to the bottom of it and not upset the Republican MAGA base like they did with the Epstein files. And I think they kind of corrected that, but it still set them back a little bit, upset a lot of people. And I don't want to see people upset anymore. So I hope they handle it correctly. So, all right, with that monologue, I want to get into our first segment. So first segment, Blue Blood. Now I'm introducing special guest Brian O'Callahan. And before I introduce him, I just want to play this one clip about a book that he wrote, which is an awesome book. And let's play this clip and I'll bring him right in.
From the mind of Brian O'Callahan.
Buy it today at Amazon.com.
Enter the dark world of betrayal, kidnapping, and human trafficking. Verified readers call Bone Deep Blues powerful and engaging, gripping, well-written, exciting.
Buy it today at Amazon.com.
A must heart-pounding read.
Amazon verified reviews say it's a super storyline, excellent, thrilling.
Experience the magic. Order now from Amazon.com. Choose from digital, paperback, or hardcover editions.
All right. Hello, Brian. Welcome to Jersey Shore Podcast. Thank you for coming on, buddy.
Thank you for the invite, Damon. Thank you very much.
So, everyone, this is Brian O'Callahan. He had a best-selling novel, Bone Deep Blues, right here. And I used to advertise it because it was a really good book. He actually made me read a book for the first time in about 20 years since I played in high school. I'm in construction. I'm very good with math. I like my math. I said, but reading, that's why I like my movies. That's why I always said about your book, they have to make a movie out of it. And my producers, we said earlier, to a couple of my friends, they said, you keep relying on your wife to read it. And I'm like, I got to read it. And I did. And it was well worth it. So thank you for that. So I just want to get into your background first before we get into anything. So your background is incredibly diverse. You were a firefighter, EMT, police detective, an instructor, corporate security. So which of those roles shaped you the most as a storyteller?
I would have to say they all kind of blend into one major experience. And they all provided a different segment that I could use to blend together. when I was in, one of the things I did as a police officer was the instructor at the police academy. And there I was able to delve very deeply into crisis intervention, domestic disputes. Those are the types of topics that I was teaching. So my insight into abuse became pretty prominent at that point. And then I became part of an acting group that helped out at the State Police Academy for the same subject matter, where we enacted actual scenes for the police trainees to come in and become involved in. So it was kind of like both sides of the coin there for me for a while, being able to teach it and to kind of live it by being either one of the abusers or a victim. But it all melded together. There's so much going on in all aspects of that.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's good. I mean, looking at your background and all the different, the roles that you had from being the firefighter, EMT, police detective, and being an instructor. Now, I didn't know that you had the role play. I guess that helped out with writing your book. That was going to be my next question. Was writing was your passion, or did it evolve from your, professional life in law enforcement? But you just answered that one for me, because it seems like it has. So that's actually pretty cool, man. I mean, that kind of experience is, I could say I never experienced it, and listeners out there, I don't know if you guys ever experienced it, but if anybody, before we go any further, if anybody wants to comment on here, my producer will put the comments up there. If you have a question for Brian or myself, I'll pop it up on the screen, and I'll ask that question too during this interview, because I think it's going to be a really good one.
So writing has always been part of, almost anything I did, and even when I was with the police department, as one of the responsibilities I had was I was also running their crime prevention program. So I used to write articles for those little, once a week newspapers that come out in your local towns. So I was writing articles even back then on crime prevention and such. So writing has been part of me since the 70s.
All right. Any books that you've read that kind of like inspired you to start, writing a novel like this?
I think every book I've read had impact on my wanting to be a writer. And I've always written as part of my job, whatever that job may have been at that time and whatever it called for. But about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided I'm going to do it for me. And I started going around with a manuscript about a small town guy that gets involved in this overwhelming issue. And over a couple of years, that morphed into J.D. Walker and Bone Deep Blues. And it hit the world live, and the reaction was overwhelming for me.
No, that's great. I mean, remember when you contacted me and you sent me this book, and I see all the awards that it got right on, and I got an arena. I was like, wow, it was pretty powerful. And the way you had it, it drew you in, but it was very fast paced. It was very entertaining. And that's, like I said, for somebody like me to actually read something. Like I said, I'm a math guy and stuff like that. My wife told me you have to read it. She loved it. She got through it pretty good. But yeah,
Thank you for me.
Yeah, I will for sure. But next question. I was going to ask you. You've seen the best and worst of humanity in real life. How do you carry that into your writing without becoming overwhelmed by the darkness?
I think most people in law enforcement and military and EMTs and such, they have a tendency to develop I guess what's called a grave personality or humor, and I guess you just are naturally hardened to some of those things, and writing does get emotional sometimes for me if I'm really deep into a subject. But it's a fine line you walk. between, experiencing or reliving something that's happened in the past and putting that on paper. But ultimately, the results and the comments that I get back are gratifying enough to keep it going.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, that leads to my next question. Like many people dream of writing a book, few actually do. But what finally pushed you to sit down and write Bone Deep Blues? I know you said that it was for you. That's when you finally write something for yourself. But what was there a moment where like, yeah, okay, I want to write something for myself and I want to make this, put this story out there? Was there anything there that just like clicked and it's like, it's time to put this on paper?
Well, like I said, I started writing a story, and I guess most people who teach writing and such will tell you to start with an outline, and like I don't do that. I start with an idea and I just let it flow, and then let it flow onto the paper. And I was doing that with the book that I was playing around with. And then more and more, there were things that were happening around us. The Epstein issue. Most recently the rapper guy Combs. And books on the subject. And of course, I think most people are familiar with the movie Song of Freedom. And I saw that movie, and it just resonated real deeply with me. And, what I wanted to do with this book was that most of the subject matter out there seems to deal with the aftermath. I tried to bring in some of the reasoning that led up to that, how it happened, how the innocent got grabbed and how they got involved in the first place. So, all of that kind of played into it. And that, as I said, as I started writing, things started flowing. And one thing led to another. And I, went back and changed a few things to work within the storyline. And that's it. It was there.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to take a quick break and go on our next segment after this break.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Brian, welcome back. I wanted to start this segment, and this is called Bone Deep Blues, named after your book, because I want to talk more about it. But one thing you mentioned was the movie, The Sound of Freedom. And I wanted to get into that because that movie, nobody wanted to make it. It wasn't put out there that well, like through the media, like it was a big movie or anything, but it made a lot of money. A lot of people went to see it. And a lot of people actually donated money to get people to see it for free tickets because it was a powerful movie. It was something
very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. People not only, maybe not just wanted to see, but needed to see. And when people saw it, they told other people, you need to see this because it was very important to get that stuff out there. And the movie did.
And there was a lot of resistance getting it made because they didn't want that subject matter out there.
Exactly. That's right. But that's what I don't want to say. It's not what the people wanted. It's what they needed. And once they saw it, then they wanted other people to see it too because it was that important. It reminds me of your book. And I just want to, I'm not trying to go off pace here, but I want to just show I want to play a clip from Stephen Colbert, how his show was just canceled. So let's just play this clip real quick.
Oh, hey, everybody. We got a great show for you tonight. Senator Adam Schiff was my guest. We harmonized on 7 Bridges Road. What a voice. I cried. But before we start the show, I want to let you know something that I found out just last night. Next year, will be our last season. The network will be ending The Late Show in May. And
so, Brian, the reason I played that clip is because Colbert's show was just canceled. And the reason why is it wasn't entertaining. He went so far left of what people didn't want to hear anymore. He wasn't funny anymore. He didn't entertain anybody. And the fact of the matter that the show is losing $40 million a year. And everyone pushes socialism and now outright communism in this country, and they don't like capitalism. But it seems like maybe smart people who actually get rich are smart enough to know when they're losing $40 million a year. So that's why they cut the show. And a lot of the left are up in arms and saying, oh, it's all political. No, it's about money. It's not entertaining. And that's what brings me back to the Sound of Freedom and bring back to your book. Your book is what people, it's not only what they need, but once they get what they need, they want to share this. This is important stuff, and it compels people to it. And stuff like Colbert puts out there, just hating America and all this stuff and hating capitalism. So now he's canceled. I think this country's turning around. And that's why I'm just segueing into like your book. Your book is entertaining, but it's important. It's to learn this stuff from your experiences. So
thank you. Yeah, thank you.
So I just want to say, well, JD Big Dog Walker is a badass ex-Navy SEAL, blues musician, club owner. How much of JD is you, and how much is invention?
I would say JD is entirely me in my head. JD Walker is obviously a figment of my imagination, but he is he's everything I probably always wanted to be, and there are certainly aspects of my past that are there. People who have read the book and know me have commented to me that there was so much of it that they were picking out. Oh, I remember that part happening, and it was like and not really, but it is what it is. And JD is a guy who is like my alter ego at this point. He's a cool guy that's into blues music as I am, and he stands up for what's right and what needs to be done, and that's him.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool. I mean, it was a great character, and we'll get into his journey in the next segment. But I don't want to give it away yet. But you paint like pictures of human trafficking and organized crime. Like, how much of what's in the book comes from your real world experience or research? Like, what have you seen?
For the actual statistics and details of human trafficking, most of that was more researched. But the emotions of it, the people's reactions to it, the people that were damaged by it. Like I said, there was a lot of exposure to people who were suffered from abuse and such in my career. People that I know in my personal life that experienced those things. So blend them all together, and you're right back again to JD Walker and what's going on in his world.
So, all right. No, I was thinking about it. I had a couple more clips I was going to play after the Colbert thing. I might save that for the Pulse show that's coming on Wednesday, because I think it's just too important to have them trash your book by playing their sorry clips that I have there. So I'll make fun of them on another show. But let's talk about the villain, Baba Yaga. The Ice Queen. She's terrifying and layered. What inspired her character?
Ice Queen is the embodiment of everything that I saw out there in the world. A beautiful woman that was seductive, but filled with hate, filled with evil, and cared more about all of that than anything else. Preying on younger kids, younger women, younger boys, building an entire porn industry out of it. And in one of my upcoming books will be the origin story of the Baba Yaga, the ice cream. And it'll delve more into her background and how and why she kind of was the way she was. But, you know, outside of the red hair, she's got no semblance to anybody that I know.
You just look over to your right. Was your wife over there or something?
Yes, she is. With her red hair.
I picked up on that. No, because I'm actually going to have my wife wants to come on the podcast, and we're going to start a show once in a while. Because a lot of times I get to, make a little digs at my wife, and she watches the podcast, and I'll say something about her, and then she'll say, "How come I never get a chance to say anything about you?" I'm like, "All right, well, fine. We'll do a show together. You come at me." I'm excited about it, but I'm a little afraid. I don't know how far she's going to go. Just because she's going to come at me, and so we'll see how that goes. So, well, maybe it'll just be a bad show. How about that? She's probably listening right now. So maybe she's going to kill the show. So that's going to invite more. I just made more on me right with that one. So, but that's how you promote a fight. So, but no, that's with my wife, same thing. That's why I called that. All right. So, music plays a big role in this book. So why blues? You said that you're a lover of blues. What does it represent for JD and the story in whole?
Well, blues music is probably the most iconic, true form of American music, going back for centuries. And as a kid, I was growing up. I didn't even realize that I was listening to blues music until a friend pointed out to me that some of the music that I had, he brought over albums and albums. There we go, dating ourselves. He brought over albums, and we started playing some of the music, and I really enjoyed it. And he introduced me to blues, and I realized that the Rolling Stones, Foghat, Canned Heat, all the bands and such that I was listening to 10 years after, they were all deeply rooted in blues. And I wasn't even realizing that it was blues I was listening to. So blues tells a dramatic story of human emotion and a lot of times tragedy. And it came from the fields, with slaves and what they would call calling. And it was just a music that I gravitated to, and I felt that the type of character that J.D. Walker was, with the grovelly voice and the background and experience he had, would be well suited to be a blues performer. And I think he is, and I think it works out. And he actually, there's several blues performers that I'm friendly with, and I know them personally. And he's kind of a blending of several of those as well, especially with the voice and the drama that goes behind the scenes with the songs that he writes and the emotion that's in them.
Yeah, no, it meshes together pretty well. And for anyone that just jumped on, I see Mern and Pete just jumped on. If you guys have any questions for Brian, you can pop them up there. But this is Brian O'Callahan, author of Bone Deep Blues. We're going to get into the next book, Fire and Ice Blues, in the next segment. But you can get Bone Deep Blues at biggoldmedia.com or at amazon.com. It's a really good book, and that's what we're talking about, just to let everybody know who just joined. So my next question is, there's very raw emotion in your writing. There's grief, loyalty, trauma. What scene was the hardest for you to write emotionally?
I think the more difficult ones to write were the ones where I try to outline the stories of the victims early on in the book, because showing where they came from and how they fell prey to being a victim was a bit emotional. And when JD's brother falls into that trap, the scene in the opening chapter of the book was was a bit rough. But again, in writing it, I wanted to be able to show that emotion. I wanted to be able to show the things that were happening. And my balance came with trying to make sure that I was able to show that without making it to the point where people put the book down because it was too graphic or too harsh. And based on a lot of the reviews that I've gotten and people comments, it seems like was able to make that transition well, where they got the message, they felt the grit, but they were able and wanted to continue to read because of the pace of the book and the storyline, the way it played out.
Yeah, I mean, it was really you did it very, very well. And and I just want to ask you one more in this segment. Like, what was there a message or a moral you were trying to leave readers with beyond the thrills and suspense?
Well, I think a lot of people look at human trafficking and think it's something that occurs only in far off worlds, and it doesn't take place here. Unfortunately, it does, and it does quite a lot. And I think maybe just bringing an awareness that it is out there and it does exist, and the frequency of it. That was all part of behind the scenes in writing it. Pretty much so.
Okay. Well, I mean, just thinking about it right now, I'm seeing another question. Someone said, Mern, thank you. This channel is great. I appreciate that. Pete, I love the APN. Thank you. I was waiting for a question. They popped up. No questions yet. But one thing I just want to say, and I think I might play these other two clips because it proves a point. What you've written, what is good. If you, like for me, if I watch a movie or read a book, and if a movie makes me feel a certain way, and I say movie because I said I'm not a real big book reader, but I happened to read your book because I wanted to, and it was good. But if you're drawn into it and it makes you feel a certain way, either you laugh if it's funny, if it makes you have an emotion, or you feel sad and you cry over something, or you feel angry when you watch the movie or read a book, anything that causes an emotion in you is well written because it draws you in. And that is a good piece of either, it's mixed with entertainment and also hits people at home because everyone has something, that you have written that they can feel something in their life that they were a part of, that they can relate to. And if you can create an emotion in somebody when you write something like this, then that means it's really good. It's really well written and it's worth reading. And that's what I got out of this book. And
thank you for that.
No, really. And I'm just going to go back because I'm going to play these stupid clips about Colbert and Jimmy Fallon because this is why they're getting canceled, because people, they're not putting out quality stuff like you are. So I'm just the Colbert Show. This is probably one of the reasons why I was canceled. Let's play the vaccine clip real quick.
The vaccine.
Oh, God. No wonder why your show's canceled. I mean, who wants to see that? I mean, really.
There's real talent.
Yeah, it's not even funny. I mean, it's the vaccine. And really? And no wonder why they're losing $40 million a year in the show. No wonder why he's canceled. And the left is up in arms saying, oh, it's all political. No, it's about money. And they're not making money. He's not giving you something that people want to see. And people are fed up with it. They're like, I don't want to watch that anymore. See a leftist talk about a vaccine that hurt more people than it helped, and we were quarantined for all this. So, but they want to see stuff that you write. And I'm going to go to this last one, and I apologize to all the listeners out there that are watching. This is how bad it is. Look at Jimmy Fallon with, who wants to watch this? Let's play this clip.
I'm in my jorts. I'm in my jort shorts. I'm in my jorts. Jean shorts, that means jorts. My name's Carl, and I wear jorts. I like all sorts of racket sports. Jorts. I got my jort shorts on the court.
Now, Brian, sorry to put you through that, but who the hell wants to see that? I mean, no wonder why their ratings are tanking. But it's just that's how bad it's gotten. Like, no one puts out quality stuff. And the thing is, what I want to go back to is, when you push like socialism and stuff like that, everyone's the same. It empowers the elites, but it doesn't. If everyone's the same and there's no incentive to do things better. People don't want to create, and then it leads you to stuff like that. It's just stupid that nobody wants to see. But if you actually have the incentive to do something and create something like you did with this novel, which is really good, it's entertaining, that's what people want. And I think that this country's starting to realize that more. We're not getting quality stuff, and we're wasting all this money on that crap. And you're seeing a novel like yours and like, wow, this is really good. That's why it was a bestseller. That's why you got your your next one coming out. I mean, it's good quality stuff that people want to see. We're tired of seeing all the crap like that on TV, and I think we're finally turning around this country and like, okay, we're done with that stupid shit. So, and we want to see some quality stuff, and I think you're really putting up some quality stuff. And Mern just said no one. That's why they got canceled. Thanks, Mern. But so yeah, there it is. But no, I know I got to keep the show like kind of to prove a point, but I don't mean just use your book to do it. But why not? I mean, your book is awesome and it's great. So so with that, let's roll into let's go to a break real quick and go to our next segment.
Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country, America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Jersey Shore Podcast. Got Brian O'Callahan here for anybody that just joined, author of one of the best-selling books, Bone Deep Blues, and this is the third segment. This third segment is Fire and Ice Blues, and we're going to get into talking about the new novel that he put out there. So let's first, before we start talking about it, let's put it up on the screen, what it looks like. So that's Fire and Ice Blues, everybody, and we'll talk about where you can get it, and we'll talk to Brian about how it's doing so far. And I don't know if it got any rewards yet, but I'm sure it will. So you can explain to everybody about that. But before we get into it, I just want to ask you: did any part of this story surprise you as you wrote it? Like a twist, a character arc that you didn't originally plan.
That's kind of difficult to answer because, like I said, I don't really stick to a format of creating an outline and then adhering to step 1, step 2, step 3. So as I'm writing it, and it was creating its own story as I was flowing through it. There were a number of things that kind of happened spontaneously as I was writing it that I felt made it better. And I stopped back and took a step back and said, wow, where did that come from? But yeah, no, it worked itself out in that respect because it was spontaneous from start to finish. So surprises, I think anybody who reads it is going to see a few things that came out of nowhere and blindsided you, as you should.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, because you've been praised for like a fast-paced but like very deeply emotional writing style. So, what's your writing process like? Like plotter or seat of the pants?
I'm sorry?
Oh, so what's your writing style? Like plotter or seat of the pants? Because you've been praised for like a very fast-paced and deeply emotional writing style.
Yeah, like I said, I walk into the book with an open mind, but a concept where I want to go with it. but how I get there happens as I'm writing. So I would assume that's more seat of your pants than anything else.
Yeah, I know. I never written a novel before, but I wrote a couple articles. That's about it. And I do like writing. It's very, and I know once you get into it, it just hits you. You know, but I write an article that might be like 3 pages, never a novel like this. So I was just curious how it goes. So, well, we got a question here. I'm curious to know if Brian believes Trump's border policies and ICE enforcement are, oh, there it is, are going to make a serious impact in ending trafficking in the U.S.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that. Yes, I do believe that with a more secure border, trafficking across the border for both drugs and human trafficking will decrease or at least be more controlled. So absolutely, I think the wide open border of the last several years certainly hurt this country and certainly hurt any attempt to control drugs and human trafficking were part of that. There, every day you see now another name being popped up on the news of being arrested, and part of their background was allegations of human trafficking. So it's here, and yes, I do believe that the Trump policies will make a difference, for the better.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, looking at Abreu Garcia, I've talked to him many times about the podcast. I actually hate saying his name anymore, but he was accused of human trafficking, and the media just jumped all over that story and called him the Maryland father. And
yeah, the Maryland dad, just a nice guy.
Yeah, exactly. Human trafficking and all that stuff. And I actually we have podcasters like Seth Eisenberg and Alexandra Levine are actually from Maryland. So I always ask them questions about, like what's going on down there. But they can't stand it either. It's like, well, he's not a Maryland dad. He's an illegal immigrant and human trafficking. And just, I don't like how the left comes out and then there. Well, it turned around and bit them in the ass in the end because they backed the wrong horse like they always do, which is fine with me. Makes them look even worse. But yeah, I mean, and then you look at, what did we have, 300,000 children that came across the border that are missing.
Missing, totally missing. No idea where they are.
Yeah, it never reminds me of the movie The Sound of Freedom. You don't know what's going on with them. And we had a book, Human Trafficking, that we read, Bone Deep Blues. It's like, this is real life stuff. It's going on. And when it went on under the previous administration, so yeah, closing the borders, everybody says it's inhumane. No, it's more humane than it is because they don't understand what those children went through coming across the border with the bracelets they were wearing. They found, I don't even want to say it, but they ripped underwear from young girls coming over it. And you know what happened to them when they got here. And then they disappeared in this country. And you don't know where they went. I mean, not as deep as it, but you just look at the ICE raid in California on the marijuana farm. There was dozens of unaccompanied illegal minors there that were working the farms, and so it's child labor, number one, and they were illegal and they're unaccompanied. So at least they were found, but everyone was up in arms like, oh, you're deporting me. Well, are you okay with child labor? I'm sure something else was going on there. But then you see that the owner of that farm donated lots of money to Gavin Newsom's campaign, for governor. So it's like, how deep does it go? And I don't know. I think a lot of people need to look at this stuff. And I think, reading your novels like this and putting this stuff, making it some, entertaining in a way to read it, but educating people is on it is very important. And I think that you're doing that with your books. So, so I just want to ask you, let's get into your next novel. That's Fire and Ice Blues. Now, I'll let you go into it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk. Well, don't give it away, but let's just where can you find it? What made you write? To follow up to this book, and give us some details.
All right. Well, when I started writing Bone Deep Blues, it was designed to be a standalone. And after people read it, and people that I know that got back to me and they wanted to know what happened next. Where did it go? You know, what happened to this person? What happened to that person? So I suddenly realized that we do need to go further, go to at least another chapter, another series. And that in itself designed, and if you, the J.D. Walker Adventure Series. So one, the cover that the book you had, I relaunched it because it has a new cover, right? If you show the graphic again of both books, you'll see that the new book, the new version of that book is a blue cover now, and that's only because it is now the J.D. Walker Action Series. So Fire and Ice Blues is the continuation. It picks up where Bone Deep Blues left off. The Ice Queen returns, and she is full of malice, looking for revenge. And one of the taglines we came up with on this was, "This time it's war," because she's out for blood. So a lot of things happen. A lot of things people wouldn't expect to see happens. And we move the action from the streets of New York City down to the tropical paradise of Belize, and a lot of fun in between.
All right. Well, you're going to make me have to read this book again, which I'm not going to complain about it because the first one was pretty good. So, well, I will find a time to read it because I'm interested. You know, because I mean, this book already, the Bone Deep Blues already racked up awards, global book awards. You know, American Fiction Awards finalist and more. So, what's the validation meant to you as a first-time novelist for Bone Deep Blues and going into a second-time novelist? Like,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What's the validation for you? Because the book racked up all these awards so far, Global Book Awards, American Fiction Award finalist, and more.
Seeing that the book Bone Deep Blues, because Fire and Ice is just coming out now. So the digital and audio copies are presently available on Amazon. The paperback and hardcover edition takes a little longer to go through the process. That'll come out midweek this week. But seeing the feedback on Bone Deep Blues and seeing that it sold in 6 countries, that one of the awards was the International Impact Award, first place for that, and the gold medal in the Global Book Awards. That was extremely validating for me and totally unexpected. Never expected that kind of response. It's one thing for friends and family and some strangers to come back and say, "Hey, great book. I love to read." But some of the responses I got back, several people want to see a movie version of it.
I definitely do, for sure.
You know, and if Jeffrey Dean Morgan is watching, you definitely will be J.D. Walker.
I thought you were going to cast me. Maybe I'm too short though. I can. Well, I want to put up this comment here. It says this series should be on your summer reading list. A good beach book. So I want to put that comment out there. There we go. That was from Bern. But
thank you.
Yeah, but no, definitely a movie, man. I think this would be a seriously great movie. So I'm a movie buff. I am. I admitted that, but I think it'll be a really, really good movie. The subject is so heartbreaking; it must be talked about. Bern, thank you, Bern, for the comment.
Yeah. Yep.
So have readers reached out to you with like personal stories or reactions that really stuck with you?
Some personal stories, but mostly the reactions and the support for the subject matter itself. I got a lot of that feedback. Yeah, it was again part of the overall validation of writing the book and causing me to go into the second book for it. Yeah.
All right. So, just for like deeper reflection, when you live through like high stakes, high stress, real world situations, what's more difficult, walking in the danger of exposing your inner world on the page? Because from your experience of actually being a detective and going through all that stuff, I mean, how do you feel about just writing it down or actually experiencing it?
Writing it was more difficult than living it.
Really?
Because when you're when you're out in the field and something happens, you always hear the phrase, run towards the fire, run towards the shooting, rather than away. And that's part of the DNA code of anybody who gets into this field or into that field. Since I'm retired now from that, but that just became second nature, and you just did because it had to be done. Writing about it now is probably a little more harrowing because you don't know where it's going or who's going to react to it. But I enjoy writing now. In fact, I have now that Fire and Ice is done and is about to hit the market live. There's a novella in the works that is almost completely finished, called The Day I Spoke to God. It's about a young man who dies from his substance abuse lifestyle. And the story is his consciousness at this point, seeing everything that's happened in his life and how it's affected everybody around him, and is confronted with a couple of choices and what choice he makes and how it will affect everybody thereafter. And there's another project underway as well called Number One Fan. And it's a very strong female FBI agent who is pursuing a serial killer. And that centers around this new trend that you're seeing everywhere with these cam girls, these young girls and guys that perform on camera for you. So we're interested to see where that goes.
Well, I'm interested too, man. You got a lot of stuff going there. Really, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure everyone else out there is looking forward to it. Everyone that read Bone Deep Blues, if you haven't read it yet, read it, because Fire and Ice is dropping very soon. So I'm looking forward to that. So before we get into what where they can go and listen to it, I know people are asking, is there an audiobook available? We'll take a quick break and we'll go into our fourth quick segment, which is the loser and the Patriot.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution. Because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We've got Brian O'Callaghan here. Great interview so far. Author of Bone Deep Blues and author of Fire and Ice Blues that's about to come out soon. So this segment, we'll go through a pretty quick. I always do the Patriot and of the Week Award and the Loser of the Week Award. So let's roll with the Patriot of the Week Award, and you might like this one. All right, Brian. So you get the Patriot of the Week award. I got to give it to you. I mean,
Thank you.
I mean, your background, like I said in the beginning, it's very diverse. I mean, from firefighter, EMT, police detective, instructor, corporate security, and now best-selling novelist. I mean, what else do you have coming? I mean, I don't know how you top all that. So,
podcast co-host with.
Hey, we're taking applications, on the APN. Anybody out there? Hey, listen, anybody wants to, come on and sponsor. We do advertising too. Brian was one of my first, and he's awesome. As you can see. But yeah, we're definitely taking applications if you want to start podcasting. Sure. But I don't know if you're out the time with all this stuff.
I got my hands full right now.
Yeah, I heard your wife's probably looking at you like, no more. You're not doing anything else. So, but no, thank you. So I had to give you the Patriot of the Week award with all that stuff and your background and your public and civil service that you have given. I really appreciate that, and it's commendable. It really is. So now I'm going to go into the Loser of the Week award, which probably everyone knows what it's going to be. So let's roll this one.
Losers! 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 Ah, shut up!
I still love that clip, from South Park. But yes, Barack Obama is the loser of the week after he found out about these emails and what he did. You guys saw the clips at the beginning of the show. We'll see what happens with coming forward with that, and we'll talk about it as we come up. But I will definitely be talking about it on the Pulse on Wednesday night. We have Peter Sykes. Actually, he's one that asked that question to you. He's a candidate for LD6 for Assembly in Camden County. He asked that question to you, and he'll be on the Pulse as well. But it's going to be a good one on the Pulse. But Brian, I want to thank you very, very much for coming on. I want to thank you for, I'll show everybody again, Bone Deep Blues. This is the first novel. Fire and Ice Blues is coming out. So, Brian, where can your listeners, there you go, Fire and Ice Blues. Where can your listeners buy Bone Deep Blues, and how can they follow your work? Just tell them where to go, when Fire and Ice Blues is going to drop and all that stuff. Is there an audio book? Someone asked about that.
Yeah, both books are in digital format. They could be listened to or read rather on your Kindle or any other associated app. Both books are available in audio, so they could be listened to while you're driving in the car or whatever. And both books will be available in paperback and hardcover. Bone Deep Blues already out there. And again, like I said, Fire and Ice should be available by midweek. What's today, 21st? 23rd, 24th or 25th, they should probably be up, ready, go, and live. So they're out there, and they are, I feel, relatively priced well, and worth the investment to read, because they are informative and enjoying. Fire and Ice Blues has got something that Bone Deep Blues did not have, is that there's a link in the book, especially on digital. It's easier to access than in the paperback, but it's there. A sampling of the actual music that JD and his team would put out. So there's a song called Fire and Ice Blues. I have it up on my YouTube page. And so I put the link into the book so that when you get to the end, you can actually hear what JD and Big Dog and the Pound, which is the name of his band, Big Dog and the Pound, would sound like. And I thought that was a little added twist to that book that Bone Deep Blues didn't have. But they're both available on Amazon, and they are both available through my website, thebigdogmedia.com.
All right, awesome. I can't wait for it. And the fact that it's available in audio, because it wasn't available in audio when you first gave me the book and I was forced to read it. So I will definitely listen to it in audio because it's a great book. And it will save me some time with everything else going on. But I loved it. Seriously, it was really good. And I look forward to the next one. My wife loved it, and I'm sure everyone else that have read it has loved it as well. I mean, the awards that it won speaks for itself. But Brian, thank you very much for coming on tonight and talking about your book.
I thank you for the invite, and it was an enjoyable hour.
Yeah, the only thing I have to ask one more question before I let you go is when it comes to a movie, me and my team, the network, APN, America's Pulse Network, we have other podcasts. We have to have a cameo in there. Like give us a little part on the side. Maybe we'll be the band playing in the blues or something like that.
Not a problem. In fact, I just got a text from Jeffrey D. Morgan, said he's already starting production. So,
all right, sounds good, buddy. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on tonight.
Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, guys. So with this, we're going to go on to bring up the GoFundMe for Seth from Conservative Corner. If we can bring that up. So Seth, as we've been talking about for a long time, Conservative Corner, he's a great guy. And again, he hates when we put this up there, but I'm still going to do it, whether he likes it or not. It's a GoFundMe for Seth Eisenberg with Jonah Eisenberg. It's under because by Seth. But he had major foot surgery done multiple times, and he's just getting back to work, just getting back to podcasting. It's been almost 2 months now. But he is, he's getting back, on his foot, I would say. Back on his feet, but back on his foot. But Seth is a great guy, and the hospital bills are piling up. So if anybody can just go on there and donate $1, $5, $20, whatever it may be, just to help him out, we would appreciate that. If you don't have it, we understand. But always got to put it out there for my buddy Seth. And I know he hates when we do, but I'm still going to do it, Seth. So, all right. And then after this, we're going to end the show, and you'll see the rest of our shows coming up. Alexander Levine Live, the Conservative Corner, Seth Eisenberg, and you'll see all that coming up. But thank you for joining me tonight. Thank you to Brian O'Callahan for being a great guest, and I'm really looking forward to the next book. And my kids must know that it's 9 o'clock right now because I hear them in the background. So thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Righteous pride in this one big voice, it's our time. Generation fighters take the stand. From shore to shore we reclaim the land.